Hey guys, welcome to Insight Tennis Tour Strokes series. My name is Rick Oldroyd. I'm the president and founder of Insight Tennis. I'm also the head pro. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about the forehand, and as kind of a follow-up to a video I did a little while ago on the myth of the wrist on the forehand. Now, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know I'm a big believer that at the tour level and the pro level, things just simply happen too fast. And so the naked eye really struggles to pick up the truth and what's actually happening. And so this series of videos is designed to talk about the specific biomechanics of the best players in the world, the techniques that they use, and very clearly illustrate exactly what they're doing to produce such consistency and power and accuracy, but more importantly, dispel some of the misconceptions and make sure that you understand what they're not doing. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of misunderstanding, in my opinion, and I think it's born of the fact that it just happens too fast at the tour level. And so what we think we're seeing and what's actually happening are very, very different. So one of the things I want to talk to you about today is what I call the myth of the wrist. Now, it's widely believed that the pros use this excessive wrist snapping or wrist flicking up the back of the ball, you know, this kind of a thing. Right? So they take the racket back here, lowers it into position, releases back, and as they come back to the ball, you've probably even heard people say, you know, you want to flick your wrist back through the ball. Now, the problem with this is twofold. The reason why this doesn't happen is because it would be essentially a glancing blow instead of a driving shot, which clearly the pros, you know, hit out through the ball. And secondly, the racket would only be square to the ball for just a thousandths of a second if you're flipping your wrist like this. So you're going to be very, very inconsistent in terms of your ball striking because the ball is not square, the racket rather is not square to the ball. You're going to hit it on the bottom of the frame, on the top of the frame, and so forth. Now, as I said before, this is very, very deceiving. When you watch Federer, for example, who's so relaxed and so fluid, and he lowers his racket into position here like this, and he comes in, and you would swear that he's doing this kind of a thing. I mean, when you watch his wrist lay back like this and flip back through, you'd swear that he's just flipping his wrist back through this way. But if he was in fact doing that, then after impact, as he comes into the ball, he makes contact here, after impact his racket would be clear up here if he was flipping his wrist up like this. And if you've ever looked at super slow motion video, for example, or if you looked at any pictures of him after impact, you would see that the racket is not up here, but that after impact his racket is still in the same position it was at impact, and it starts to rotate a little bit like this, right? But the ball, you got to remember, is gone. The ball is long gone. Now, I'm not advocating that there isn't wrist and arm rotation. Of course there is. I don't want to advocate that or have you misunderstand that. But this myth of the wrist, that I call it, is just, you hear people say, you know, brush up the back of the ball and brush up the back of the ball to create topspin. While there is wrist and arm rotation, the pros and the best players in the world don't brush up the back of the ball. They literally go from a low position to a high position, and they hit out through the ball. And yes, they're imparting spin, but more of that is happening because of the low to high position than it is excessive wrist snapping. And the other reason why this doesn't happen is because it would disconnect them from their power source. So let me illustrate what I mean by that. If I take my racket back here like this, and I drop my racket into position and I start to uncoil, as I start to uncoil, my racket seeks that laid back position as a product of my uncoiling, right? But my body is still driving this shot. As I allow my racket to release back to impact, my body is still driving that shot out through. If I come into impact and do this kind of a thing, I've disconnected myself from my body. My arm independent, wrist independent of my arm or independent of my body. And you hear that all the time. Now, I'm not saying that you can't hit the ball over the net like that. Of course you can. But there's just nothing on that ball, and a good player is just going to take that, come in, take it on the rise, punish it into the corner, and you're going to lose control of the point. So if you want more penetration on your shots, if you want more depth on your shots, and to hit a heavier ball, if you will, the key is to not be flicking your wrist or rotating it too much at impact, but rather hit out through the ball, hit out through from a low position or to a higher position, reach out to your target and allow that racket to release and rotate as a product of the momentum of the swing and not this excessive wrist rotation or wrist snapping. So hopefully that's going to be helpful for you. The next time that you're out there on the court, try that. Try thinking about, taking the racket back and allowing your racket to lay back, but as you come back through, yes, you got to release the racket and rotate back to impact. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a wrist flip. You're not going to flip your wrist back like this. That's the misconception, and when you watch the pros do this, you probably would swear that that's what they're doing, but if you look carefully and you use those frames of reference that I talked about after impact to see the racket is not straight up in the air, but it's in the same position at impact, and then after it starts to rotate, you'll see that clearly that is what's happened. Hopefully this is helpful for you. If you like this video, please click the link below and subscribe to our channel, Insight Tennis. Also visit the website at insighttennis.com and leave any comments, questions below as well. We love to hear your comments and questions. On the website, I always bring attention to this, there's a video analysis section of the website. We encourage you, if you're struggling with any part of your game, to go ahead and take some video of yourself. If you've gotten to a place where you've just kind of plateaued and you can't seem to get any better, take some video in MP4 format and send it in to us. We can analyze it for you. We can take a look at your biomechanics, give you some tips, give you some pointers and ways that you can improve. We definitely want to do that, so send those in. Again, like the video if you like the video, leave your information, visit our website at insighttennis.com, and as always, thank you for your time, and we'll see you out there on the court.